worries. We are now on air. And actually, hold on.
I did make that very dramatic.
So my intention was to keep the IndieWeb presentation, building blocks presentation open and kind of pick off some pieces. And first big obvious thing, I'm Adam, by the way. Is anybody willing to do the notes taking?
Happening.
You're doing it?
I'm on it.
And timekeeping?
Yeah, why not?
Too. Yeah, so I've done all those things. Good. I will be checking off 10 minutes, 5 minute, 1 minute.
Okay.
It's grading you.
See what I can do for you.
I will web mention your performance level. So like, this is my server.
Yeah, we could do more real world examples. Like you have a WordPress blog, and then you also have Instagram and Twitter, and also your friend has another, or whatever. It's just a suggestion.
Twitter. So I have accounts. These are. This is my silo. These are other silos. And so we'll stick with it. So my server has a URL that lets me know that I own it. I can put things on it. We'll call that stack. I don't know if that's going to matter. Blog. I own the blog. My database has all my blog posts. Syndication. So you probably don't want to completely stop using Twitter and Facebook. So syndicating your content from your site to silos. So in the IndieWeb model, if I'm understanding correctly, I'm gonna keep looking at you as an authority. That's all right. We'll call this like microblog. In the IndieWeb model, I create a post here, I store it here, and then my server sends it to Twitter.
Something's in Twitter, yeah.
Or it could be a third party.
Could be
server that's monitoring your site. Or
there's
feed.
a couple ways to get it to Twitter. Maybe this is where you're starting to want the block diagram coming in, because I can see that there's like a couple different ways to do it that all look differently.
Yeah. All right. So as an example of my server,
let's use Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook as the 3 accounts, because there's good reasons to handle each of those differently in terms of syndicating today.
Let me tighten this up a little bit.
Right, but Instagram, there's no way to.
Instagram, there's no API to post to Instagram. It's a good example of the bad way of building a silo.
Insta, Facebook. So is it idiomatic to want a thing I put here to go to all these places?
It can definitely, yeah. I mean, again, it's totally up to the individual person, but there's oftentimes I will want a post to go to both Twitter and Facebook. But sometimes I only put it on Twitter because I think that my Facebook followers wouldn't care about it.
I'm going to sketch things, and if it's confusing, so
because I didn't even have a full.
I posted it.
A little bit, but so I mean,
For who?
One thing that
Let's say I want it to go to all 3. It's a photo?
Yeah, they all support photos.
On the web and
Cat. I post a cat picture for all 3 services. Where that my web developer mind, I did something that affects my database, which now has an entry called picture and a file called picture. What happens next?
So let's talk about the 3 different ways to syndicate content. Start with Instagram, because there is no API to post on Instagram. So we can't actually start a post on your site and then post it to Instagram automatically.
It has to go the other
There
way.
is no mechanism for that. You have to post on Instagram natively. So the way that, the sort of nice way to automate this so that you don't have to think about it is making something which watches your Instagram feed, and then anytime something new appears, makes a post in your site. So it goes that way.
So there's a thing that
There's a
lives.
thing, black box.
Needs to watch it.
Yep. That would be a good name.
Needs to watch. It's I actually just trademarked. Path.
So it's a thing, and it's going to watch your Instagram feed. And then it just needs to know how to add posts to your website. So like,
That's step 1 is it gets post.
Yeah, right, something like myroom.com has that.
But it's not getting anything back, or is it?
It's getting.
it's not pushing anything to Instagram though.
But the yeah. I mean it's
It's
either
asking
polling-
and then getting
yeah,
a,
it's either
okay,
polling
right,
or
yeah,
it's
okay.
receiving a notification.
Get the,
Because they have an out API.
you can't even use the API unless you are
You have to
approved
subscribe.
as
Oh, if you have
a
like a-
ad partner thing.
Right.
It's terrible.
Okay.
Um,
So it's like.
But there are ways to like scrape it and.
essentially,
scraping?
yeah, essentially there's like, because they're all about GraphQL right now, what that actually means is that there's giant globs of JSON in their HTML.
Nice.
So you can just like go find that JSON, and then you have a pretty good data structure to work with. So it's a little bit nicer than HTML scraping.
Also, there is
which
an
is
IFTTT where you can subscribe and ask it to do whatever.
But it is super gross because it's in there as like part of an inline script
Yeah,
tag.
it's really gross.
So like
Which
actually
is-
getting that JSON is
Which is like black box. Why this is cool that there's exists things like this that are black boxes, because some poor schmuck is going to have to keep up with their
Exactly.
flim flam. All right, so Instagram Watcher has a post now. It knows that I posted it.
It needs to make a post on your site somehow.
Right.
So
Using micropub.
using Micropub is one way to do that.
Yeah.
If you built that and it's part of your own black box website, you can just write it into your database.
Right.
Like, it doesn't really matter. There's multiple ways to solve that problem, and there is a standardized way to solve it, which is via Micropub.
All right. So this is the Instagram flow, for example.
So this is and this is what we call Pesos, PESOS, post elsewhere, syndicate to your own site. It's the opposite of posse.
And the same model would apply to Foursquare.
PESSOS?
Yeah.
Basically.
pesos, like the
Mexican-
Spanish
like
currency.
the-
Mexican.
So yeah, same thing, same model with Foursquare. Foursquare has an API, so you can actually post a check-in from your site to Foursquare, but I
it's
like
easier
using
to
the Foursquare
check in
app,
from- yeah.
so I like
Yeah.
this Pesos model for Foursquare for
Yeah.
this.
I should have done that in a different color. Switch now. All right.
So that's
From there, my site, I can be running code that receives this and does whatever the heck it wants.
Yeah.
Let's-
For example, it
for
can
example.
take it and post it to Twitter. You want all of your Instagram photos on Twitter and your site. And it can also post it to Facebook.
I-
Yeah. So the two other models are I guess there's three different mechanisms that are in use right now to get posts elsewhere. So your site can obviously just use the Twitter API and the Facebook API. and just take your photo from your storage, make a Twitter API request to Twitter directly. So that's like
this is Posse.
Yeah.
With a identifier MSC.
Yeah, okay, so your website can have a built-in support for posting to Twitter or Facebook, or you can subscribe to third-party servers that's gonna monitor your website for new posts and post to Twitter and Facebook for you.
Yep. And there's another one, which is it's another service. It translates micropub requests to Silo API requests. So it's essentially it's an API. It's just an API product sitting there, and it has one standard interface input. And if the thing it's sending to is Twitter, it translates that into a Twitter API request. If the thing it's posting to is Facebook, it knows how to take that input and turn it into a Facebook
So
request.
that's what you're doing with Quill.
No.
No.
Quill doesn't know how to talk to any of those things.
So is it
Quill
just
only talks to your,
It only talks to your site.
so your site posts to Twitter? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
and Quill is because I don't want to have to build publishing interface.
Publishing interface.
Like
So
I
we're
don't
just
wanna-
using it as an example, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, silo.pub is the service that
Wait, what is
this was so there's so in the Posse category, there are 3 ways to do it. So one, your site can talk to the service directly.
So like,
Like,
direct
use
API.
the Twitter API, use the Facebook API, use the GitHub API, which means you have to go sign up as a developer, get API keys and all that shit.
Which is for most users not great.
Not great
Yeah.
for most people. Even most people who are willing to write that code, it's not even that great
Yes,
for.
yes.
All right. We'll call that.
But it is the sort of default
Yeah, okay.
default way to do it. B, there are services that will essentially watch your site, take the data from your site, and then push it over to Twitter, Facebook. This is Bridgie Publish.
Is it
And
using
you have to
RSS
trigger
or
it.
is it
You have to
also
trigger it
It
using-
doesn't really watch, but you can tell it look.
Oh, okay.
You say check now.
You say,
Yeah.
you say check now. And the important thing there is that you're not sending the photo to Bridgie.
You say, I have
You
a
say,
new post.
I have a post, here it
Please
is.
figure it out.
And is it expecting microformats?
Yeah. So
Okay.
Bridgie expects to find microformats.
It doesn't
on your
care
site.
about RSS.
It takes, because it's only looking at the one post.
Right.
It's looking at the permalink for the post.
Right.
And it says, here's the post, I'm going to post it to Twitter for you. It looks for the microformats on the page to find the photo and the content, all that stuff. And then it uses the Twitter API to push it to Twitter
So-
for you.
Hey, Bridgie, I posted.
I posted this post.
Who's running Bridge? Also you?
No,
Okay.
Ryan snarfed. Yeah.
Snarfed.
Thank goodness, because that is something I do not want to run.
So
He seems so chill.
two.
Tell Bridgie I posted a new post. Bridgie will fetch the post from your site, expecting the microformats.
So then there's that barrier of, oh, well,
Get some MFers.
So did I just hear right that Bridgie is run by some guy named Ryan,
A person.
just out of the goodness of his heart?
Literally, yes.
And if he gets hit by a bus tomorrow
My
and
God.
doesn't
It-
renew his domain?
It's open
or-
source.
It's open source. There are pretty good instructions for setting it up, but
So-
yes.
Key interesting thing is Bridgie is a service that holds
Credentials. Yes.
Bridgie knows my
It knows.
OAuth access.
It has the OAuth tokens for your Twitter account in it. It stores that.
Okay.
So you have to go set it up. By
So Bridge is like, it could be replaced by FTTT, I think, for example.
Oh yeah, yeah. So
Some
actually,
people do
that's
that.
another.
So you for FTTT, you can say, okay, watch this RSS feed
Yeah.
and post anything new to Twitter and Facebook.
And then B3 is the
Yeah, it pushes to the API.
Bridgie publishes on my behalf.
But does that? So it's interesting. Community.
And then
Publishes on my behalf using their developer.
their API, yep. So Bridgie is registered as a Twitter developer, all that.
Which also means Bridgie is capped at 15,000 or whatever their
Yeah.
Twitter user is.
But a field of Bridgies may bloom if it comes
Yes.
to that.
Right,
Yeah.
and that's presumably, I could register for those developer tokens, which,
Yeah, you can, and you can run Bridgie yourself too.
right, I could spin
Yeah.
up a thing.
And then there's the next model, which is even easier to self-host.
Yeah. Which is what I do actually.
Yeah, which is Silo Pub.
All right, and then
So-
C
C is silo.pub,
is another
another service made by Kyle.
Yeah, Kyle Mahan.
It is essentially an API translator. So it expects API requests in the format that is micropub, and it translates those into Twitter API requests or Facebook API requests.
So if you, for example, have a micro.blog app, I don't know if that supports different endpoints, but
Actually, you totally can. You
Okay.
You can
can
post directly to
you can
Silo
log
Pub.
into micro.blog
Yeah.
as a silo.pub user,
okay.
and it'll post directly
To
to Twitter.
SiloPub.
So
And there you give your Twitter and Facebook access to SiloPub, and it will
Yep.
basically post it.
Yeah.
So you don't have
I don't
Your
think
own
it does
microblog.
the octopus thing. So like I don't
No,
think
it's one.
it's one-to-one, one
one-to-one,
per silo.
So like there is a identity URL that is your Twitter account.
Oh, so you won't be able to
Only.
post in multiple places. Just you have to choose one.
Silo Pub is
So it is a
I go off.
yeah, you OAuth with it to start. So it holds onto your Twitter credentials, Facebook, GitHub, whatever
Credentials or token?
token.
Yeah.
Yes. And then when you want to post a photo from your site to Twitter using SiloPub, you have to actually grab the photo, grab the tweet content, and send it to SiloPub and tell it, hey, these are the things I want you to post to Twitter for me. And then it will go and deal with Twitter API.
And that means you need a token for each of those accounts.
Yes,
To
to
Silo.
SiloPub.
So do you need to have a micropub in order to do this? That was my other question.
No,
Okay.
none of this requires that you support micropub yet.
Okay.
Yeah, we're talking about. Oh, sorry, no. The Instagram one, there is a version of that requires you support micropub,
Okay.
but technically there's multiple ways that could be solved.
Because when I just looked on silo.pub, it said something about micropub or something. That's why I wasn't sure. Because I was like, if you don't
Yeah,
want to
so
build that in,
Silo-
how do you do that?
So
Yeah.
Silo.pub doesn't require that your site supports micropub, but it is a micropub
Oh,
server.
it is a micropub.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you just have to know that, like, here's what the API request looks like to talk to Silo.pub.
Okay. That's awesome. Thanks. That's actually the simplest one, I think.
It,
So far.
different people have totally different takes on it.
Yeah.
So I like the SiloPub model because that's how my brain works.
Yeah.
Of like, I know how to deal with APIs, but I don't want to deal with the constantly changing Twitter and Facebook API.
Yeah.
But I can make this API request. But other people don't think that way, and they like the Bridgie publish model because they can make their web page right, and then just tell Bridgie to deal with it.
That's true.
Yeah,
Right.
which is nice.
That's
And
another option too.
it's easier for some people.
Yeah.
Totally a personal preference.
Yeah, and like Bridgie, I like because you can do it without a lot of back end infrastructure. Like you can do the thing where you just like GitHub pages. I have a new post, copy the URL, post,
Oh, that's
paste it
actually
into Bridgie
simple,
publish.
yeah.
Bridgie's like, is this what you want? You say yes, then it gives you back a URL, and then you can copy that back into your GitHub post and say, here's my syndication link. And that's like pretty much the actual workflow I do. I
Okay.
do have a lot of automation, just not that part of it.
So let me back up to the thing that I finished drawing. That's all right.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. SiloPub posts a service on my behalf, and then you just said a thing where,
to close the loop,
yeah,
you would often want to update the post on your server to indicate where it ended
SiloPub
up.
pushed it to.
Yeah.
Well, or like whatever service you used to get it, like you're going to have a permalink that's like twitter.com/your username/ some number. And you're going to have a facebook.com/ your ID/ some post ID. And you're going to want to associate those with the original post by storing that somewhere in your original post.
This is the posts elsewhere building block.
How does that? How do I know? That?
So with the purple one, the watcher, that's the sort of easiest one because it just tells your site.
Right.
Here's the URL. Here's the Instagram URL.
Yeah.
So that's just like in the one request. With Bridgie Publish, when you tell Bridgie Publish to publish a post, it'll return in that response. Like if you write code to trigger it.
That's after step 3.
Yeah, so after step 3, the response is the URL that it published on Twitter. If you use the interface for Bridgie Publish, then it just shows you in the UI. Here's the URL it created. But it's, after step 3.
And is that a webhook?
No, it's just in the response.
So
you can tell Bridgie, hey, I just posted this post.
yes.
And then it's going to do some stuff. And the response to that HTTP call that you did is the URL.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that's all synchronous.
Mhm.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Bridgie probably works pretty quick, and those APIs work pretty quick.
Yeah.
You could sit for.
Essentially just examining the last and hosting at the structuring post state is when something happens. And like
And I just looked it up too for the Bridgie publish. It says it's a WordPress thing. Can you do it outside of that? That was my other question. Or do you have to use WordPress?
So there is a WordPress plugin that will help you deal with Bridgie Publish.
It automates it.
Yeah, it essentially it's like a plugin version of itself. It's plugin and then it just like works.
Okay.
But you can totally use Bridgie Publish without
Without
WordPress.
it? Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah. It's the same model. It requires that your site has the microformats on the post.
Okay.
And then you can either trigger it from code or like Marty does, just goes to the web page and uses the web interface to do it.
And like copy and paste things. And then silo.pub, because it's part of micropub, is always going to give back that new URL as well.
Exactly.
And that's
This
is all one request.
Yeah. It's
you
just
send the content to SiloPub forwards it on, and then the response is the URL that it created.
and that's just the last step in micropub is like success. Here's the location header that gives you the new URL. And in that case, it's just going to be a Twitter URL or a Facebook URL or Tumblr.
So, do you use this stuff at Adafruit?
No.
Just curious.
Someday.
Yeah. We're WordPress.
I have I have an Instagram plan
Yeah.
because that's like the one silo that we use a lot that we don't back up well.
And there's a caveat here, which is that the if version of Bridgie Publish, this is one part that's usually missing from this, is that you don't get the URL for the silo post if you use if.
Yeah. IFT is like an undirected one-way graph. Like things go out.
It's like
and they don't come back.
It's like, please publish this for me, and if it's like,
I did it.
It's like, hey, yeah, I did it, but I'm not gonna tell you anything about it.
Yeah.
We just hope that it works.
Yeah. Then you can subscribe to like Twitter and Facebook and get it back. But then how do you match it to the post?
Right.
By wonders algorithms. What if this system breaks by me posting to Twitter first? Will
It breaks.
Yeah, so basically don't do that. Like if you set it up this way, post it to your own site and only post pictures.
I can give you
to
an
Instagram,
example that I
whatever.
do all the time, which is I will see like somebody posted something on their site and tweeted it.
Yeah.
And I will see it on Twitter first and I'll click like. Then I'll go to my site and say, I liked this tweet. I can't syndicate that now because like the Twitter API will say you already liked this post. but I also can't construct the URL. Like I could, it's like I have to find the numeric ID of that post, find its in URL, and then I have to find like my numeric user ID, and I can go to like this hashtag liked by URL fragment to like get the permalink of my like, but pretty much like it's gone.
Yeah.
I can undo the like and then run through the pipeline to syndicate it and get back a real syndication URL. But that's a real life example that bites me all the time, where it's just like, well, I just have likes in 2 places and I don't worry too much about it. Because it's not like I get lots of benefit from tying those posts together anyway. Few people like likes, although in the indie web, we do it.
Yeah.
It's a goof.
Well, it is interesting because that's like the life-affirming social interaction that happens when you put something into the world.
Mhm.
People are like, I affirm your life choices. You're
Yes.
good. My political opinions are correct.
Right.
Like, that's significant. Like, we laugh, but like having the logical infrastructure to be friends with people is good.
Yeah, agreed.
It's a good thing. So are those things also pushed through this kind of infrastructure?
Yeah. So we were talking about like a photo in an example,
Yeah.
but the same exact thing happens for other kinds of posts.
So this thing can be like, you got a like.
Well, so the responses to your posts are different. Totally different diagram.
This is like
you're making stuff on.
This is
cloud.
for us to publish.
Okay, this is
This is publishing.
Posse.
Mhm.
Is it time to like take a picture and start over?
I
Because
think
like
so.
replies can
Yeah.
go. It's going to be also big.
So,
So
this is
this
all
is-
about publishing, not just publishing photos. This is publishing like text or photos or likes
Right.
or reposts, replies, anything that you are creating on your site and you want to then push it out to other places.
Yeah.
Tweets.
Does any of this support editing, updating?
So
I would say it all could, but I think it all breaks down.
Twitter doesn't.
Twitter does not support editing at all.
Facebook.
Facebook
sort
does,
of?
but I don't think through the API.
Yeah, probably not.
Which means you can't
Instagram
automate.
does support editing.
Yes.
You can edit in Instagram.
Yeah.
Only for a certain amount of time you can edit the content,
Not
not
the
photo,
picture. Yeah.
but like the
Just
captions.
Yeah. Right.
Swarm, you can sort of edit posts by adding photos and deleting photos after you check in. And that does actually work. So the servers I made on your Swarm, which does what Instagram Watch about for Swarm, it will send edit requests back through Micropub to tell your site to, hey, there's a new photo here.
Mhm.
So the answer is yes, it works with a lot of caveats because of the services.
So how well does this scale, and what happens if there's an interruption in this middleware that glues it all together?
Mostly, so it depends a lot. So it depends a lot. It's because it's like, are you using the Bridgie publish web interface to publish? If so, what happens when Bridgie's down? Well, you can't do it. So you're going to try again when it's back up, right?
Mhm.
So now if you're doing this in code,
Or you're going to forget. Like
or you're gonna
what I
forget
do all
and
the
you're not
time
gonna
is like I'll get halfway through it and I'll just forget the
Yeah.
process, and like a post will not finish syndicating.
But like with code, if you write code to use Bridgie Publish or TiloPub and those are down, your code, maybe you built in some clever handling for retrying when the service is down. Probably not,
Maybe
but
you
you
did.
could. With Own Your Gram, which is the Instagram watcher I wrote, it doesn't care about time. So if it is down for 2 days and then it comes back up, it'll be like, oh, look at all these new photos. I'm going to send them all to your site. So it'll figure it out.
It's keeping track of what is already sent.
It turns out for most of these things, you will want to implement that.
Yeah.
Because inevitably
Yeah.
you'll want to resend something, and or you'll like want to blanket process a bunch of things, and you want it to not redo things it's already done.
So
All right. So, what time are we at?
You have 13 minutes.
should we try to do responses?
Yeah, I think so. Now that some of this stuff is like known to us, I think responses will go faster.
Yeah.
Web mentions are in the same
That's
category.
Yeah.
coming. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So, I'm gonna keep my server. Is that logical?
Yeah. And let's start with plain web mention without talking about silos first,
The happy
just to
case.
establish that.
The happy IndieWeb case.
So put somebody else's server on the right side that we can talk to and point at.
I'll just make up a name.
Great. Just random
Good made up name.
Pull a name out of thin air. It's probably not even real.
So, okay, so you have a photo, a cat photo you posted.
Yeah.
We need to, it has a URL. We have to start with that assumption. And Marty is going to reply to it.
I'm going to reply to it with a cat hard eyes emoji.
Perfect.
Accurate.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this has happened.
Yeah.
Marty publishes.
So Marty somehow stumbles across your cat photo. That's out of scope of the discussion.
Discovery, not part of this.
And posts, wants to reply with a heart eyes cat emoji.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes to his website, makes a post with the heart eyes cat emoji, and includes a link to the post he's commenting on. And that's where we're starting from. This is like, that's a pretty good
Oh, that sounds flash.
Sharpie
Nice.
emoji.
Yeah, very
Pretty
good.
Okay. Okay. Wants to reply with cat emoji. Publishes.
I guess let's actually write the publish step as a step, because that's going to be the important part.
Yeah. I think that's what he's doing right there, right? Oh, and I want to reply. Great. Yeah. So two. Is I
Marty makes a post.
It has the cat heart eyes as the content, and it includes a link that says what I am liking, like what I am cat heart eyesing. So it's the URL to your cat.jpg.
Wait, so you saw the photo where? On someone's website, and then you're replying how?
Let's just say that I look at his website every day.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm replying by creating a post on my website
Right.
that says cat heart eyes emoji and mentions
the URL.
Like
the
we saw in
URL.
Quill, where the post type is a reply.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we
so
will call
the-
this like a reply post.
This is Marty making a reply post. Is the
It's a really interesting idea that it's like, how do
and-
you it's stupid, like the.
Okay.
And it's
That-
published on your website now? This like? Basically?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So every like is a separate entity.
And
Yep. And it's
the publish event.
Here you go. This is what a real one looks like on my site.
just find one.
Yeah, and it's just like it's all good. It's just like favorite, and like this is where all the main meat of this content is. This is just for humans to look at something pretty.
Yeah.
But it's just like this is a favorite post. So in micro formats, this is a like of, and then your URL.
Right. And
And your
step
static site is
3
essentially a separate markdown file.
Yeah,
So
it's got a
step
permalink.
3, Marty.
Marty sends a web mention. Is that step 3? Yeah. It's
Sending a
published.
web mention, which is going to be a bunch of steps.
Yeah, it's gonna go down
Yeah, we're going to go rabbit
the
hole.
rabbit hole.
Cat
Cat.
hole.
Yeah. That's probably not the right. That's not the right phrasing.
Not the right word. I don't know why rabbit hole is okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's funny.
historically it's been grandfathered in somehow. That phrasing is also.
Okay.
I'm just gonna
Anyway.
stop. Let's move
Rabbits are
along.
supposed to live in holes, cats aren't.
That's
Right.
okay. That's why. Thanks. Anyway,
Cat cave.
so yeah, so Marty made a post with a hat, with a cat heart, and a link to your post. That's an important part of this. Links to your cat photo.
Mhm. There's a lot. There's a lot of pieces.
I'm just going to put it out there that usually we don't. Usually we're doing these to posts that contain a photo, not the actual JPEG. Minor detail.
Yeah, so it would be like Adam photo cat. Yeah.
And then in that page, /cat, there happens to be an image tag with the .jpeg.
Yeah.
Okay, so Marty now makes that post. And step 3, sends the web mention.
Yeah, so this is like
Let's do the
curl
high level version of web mention first,
Okay.
which is
That
it's
now
I
there are different versions of this.
Yeah.
I assume like there are different versions of us.
actually what's about to
Actually,
happen
no.
with the mention, there's one way through it.
Yeah.
But it's a question of like at what point in the depth tree do we start describing it?
So I post. and that
okay. Well,
posting
no, let's go through it step by step.
Yeah.
Okay, Marty wants to send a web mention.
Let's say I don't have a service for this and I just want to do it by hand.
Yeah. First of all, Marty doesn't know where to send the web mention because all he knows is what post he's replying to. So first he has to find the web mention endpoint.
It's
And
also
that's
on your
right.
website, you have the input field for
Link.
URLs for web mention.
Oh yeah,
So
some people do
I
that.
can just copy that, my like URL, and go paste that
If,
to your.
if that exists, that's a shortcut through this process.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so for better understanding, I think it's.
I assume it's something like
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so I would fetch your page because I've already closed it and I made my post. So I'm going to fetch your /photo/cat page again, and I'm going to look for that you're drawing right there. Yeah, I'm going to look for a link with a rel of web mention that tells me where you want web mentions for that page to go.
So
/WN.
part 1 of 3 is a GET request.
It has a page ID in it. This rel web mention thing. It's not a.
No, it's just, I mean, all that the sender cares about is that it is a URL.
Okay.
If you want to make that specific to the page by putting an ID in it, you can. Doesn't matter to the sender because of the next step.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
step 1 is where do you want to get web mentions sent to you? Or A, 3A, find the endpoint. B is going to be actually send the web mention.
Yeah.
And sending the web mention, all that is a post request with 2 URLs. It's the
one you're
Wait for him to catch
liking
up.
and the one you're liking from.
Exactly, yeah. So B is send web mention. And that is a post to the web mention endpoint.
My one question with the web mention is where would that data go? Like if he likes a cat photo, where would that like go? Would it go to like like you said, like on Twitter or something? Where would it like end up?
So we're not talking about Twitter yet.
Oh, but I'm
Yeah.
thinking like, let's just say Marty likes, my cat picture, but
On
he
your
mentioned
website.
on my website, but where would this, so it's just, where would the web mention end up? Like he says he likes it. that
Totally
was-
up to you.
Yeah.
So
So
let's
that's-
walk through that.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I
No,
think
no worries. This is
But
the
yeah,
next
no,
question, yeah.
this is a perfect lead in. The post request contains source and target. Let's call it that.
Yeah.
So source is the like URL.
Yep.
In my head.
Target is the cat photo.
Okay.
Let's skip the verification for now.
Yeah. Assume that your web mention thing says,
My web mentions
does it
are-
really link to that? And if so, cool. And let's just say that it does that. There is a verification step.
There's a verification step that let's skip over for now just to finish this flow.
Is-
Okay.
Yeah,
Because we're at
I want
time.
to come back to that because that's the.
I did a
that's
bad
the
job on
abuse-
time. We're
That's
pretty
the
much at time.
abuse vector.
Yeah,
I shouldn't take
exactly.
notes and do
That's
this.
the spam vector. But it's in the web mention, and then once the receiver
I'm
verifies
just
it,
kidding. We have 3 minutes. We're not over yet.
Okay, so your
the
your
receiver-
site now knows that this post has been liked, basically.
your
Because it's received.
site is made aware of, oh, here is this post from Marty with cat heart eyes. Now it can do whatever it wants with that.
Okay.
So it may do a number of things. It may send you a push notification. It
Okay.
may write it to a database. It may put it on the cat photo.
Okay.
But totally up to you.
Okay.
Some people have very strong preferences of like, I don't want to show comments on posts.
Because anywhere on your personal site that you leave open for other people to
Post, yeah.
things, like you're now carrying that.
Like, what if somebody sent you a poop emoji?
Yeah.
With a cat.
Because
With
they
heart
hate
eyes.
cats. What if they're a dog person?
Yeah.
They get that noise.
So yeah, seeing is verified. I mentioned.
Simply, like, just send me like a Bitcoin, and I'll let you publish.
Exactly.
There we go.
Yeah, and you could add that where it's just like, hey, thanks. Here's the list of all the people that have sent me web mentions, and each of you now has a Bitcoin address. And when you pay me, it'll appear on my website. There's no reason you couldn't have that.
And your verification step can be arbitrary.
Oh crap! We just invented like mention coin.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's what those are. Is like,
Yeah.
you can't put your thing on this list until you've done a certain amount of work.
That is exactly what they are.
Comments as a blockchain.
Yeah, it's like that was the best commentary I saw on blockchain yet. Was semantic web keeps popping up in different contexts. Because that was it. That's the dream of like, we
Right.
tag everything, we store it, we know how the world is because we've technologicalized it. So T is like display.
Like show the comment or notify you. Store in the database.
Yeah.
Very self-directed step.
Okay. So it's
Yeah.
up to the
Yeah.
person. Okay.
And like displaying could be lots of things. So you could like early days, it was just like this site mentioned me, but now you might have a bunch of likes, so you want to collapse those into like, I'm going to go find an avatar for each of these people
Is
and
that
show
the
a whole
thing?
list of
I think you
faces
showed-
instead of.
Like you showed a big list and like, this was from Facebook, this was from Twitter, this was from somebody's personal site, this was, was
Yeah.
that web mention?
Exactly. Yeah.
So that was a post he had.
1 minute.
Like
So-
thinking like I imagine like a Tumblr page that has like reblog this,
Yeah.
reblog this, left
Mhm.
a comment. Because this is the old trackback. That was a thing. Pingback.
Trackback was this without the C verify,
Okay.
without the verify step.
And that's a shrug emoji, which is like
Up to you. Yep.
So
So the 30 seconds left. If you can sort of encapsulate this in your head as this is what the web mention workflow is, the way this extends out to getting the feedback from Twitter and from Facebook is there is a service, Bridgie, which for every time somebody makes a Twitter reply or a Facebook like, Bridgie generates a URL representing that and sends you a web mention. So there are about 1 million URLs on Bridgie for every interaction that has been done to people's syndicated posts.
Can you say that one more time?
So if you just take this idea and you want to get your comments from Twitter on your post, it's the exact same thing, except that instead of Marty making the URL on his site, Bridgie made it as a proxy for Facebook or Twitter.
yeah, because Twitter is not going to do a web mention.
Twitter doesn't send a web mention, but
Bridgie
Bridgie-
monitors Twitter and does a web mention thing instead of Twitter.
that's why it's called Bridgie, because it's bridging Twitter and web mentions. So it makes a
Can you
proxy
send
URL.
likes back to Twitter? Though? I think you can, but my head is at this point is boiling.
Not
It's a lot
through
of
something
work.
like Bridgie. Like Twitter doesn't show external data, and they don't accept web mentions. So
So
you would still need something to go into that API.
to be clear, watches my Twitter, sees feedback.
Yep.
And generates a web mention.
Makes
It
a
generates a post.
post for each interaction. So there is like a URL on Bridgie that represents this comment to a tweet or this like of a tweet. And then Bridgie sends a web mention for that.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is that once you support web mentions, just as the concept, Bridgie just works without you doing any additional work
So
because it's the exact same flow. There's nothing special about it.
it sends me web
Sends you a web
mention,
mention about that post.
and that web mention has source.
That web mention has
Bridge
a link to
URL.
your, yeah, the web mention has the source of the bridging URL, target to your URL.
And target is my URL, and I posted. I have a bridge URL here, or can I?
Nope, you don't need to know anything about bridging. It'll just,
Oh,
thinks it's a web mention.
It thinks it's a-
the web mention. It sends points it at Twitter.
so
Okay,
the,
it
so
sends the Twitter.
the URL that bridging made says, here is this tweet, here's the text of it, here's the URL on Twitter, and then it includes a link to your post. So the web mention verify step works.
Mhm.
Yes, so a web mention can be not the same URL that where the, if you get what I'm saying. It's fine that it's not actually on Twitter and it's another URL. That URL can contain the canonical
Exactly,
URL.
yeah. One of the properties in HEntry is URL. So you can say, here's the URL for this post.
Even
So-
if it's different URL.
Even if it's
So you
different
can
URL.
Trick people with micro
Totally,
formats.
you totally can. And this
Wow.
is the,
Create
That's
chaos.
the verify stuff.
well, it's actually separate from that. And this is the one thing I will say about that is that a hardened implementation of web mention will either like not allow that like a source URL to be different from the
To
URL
mismatch,
to mismatch, or it will at least point it out,
Right.
You
or
have, like, a
require
list
a
of
manual
trusted.
verification, or you trust bridging
Right.
and any other
Yes.
proxy services
Yes.
you're doing.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. So if you look at my website, you may have seen some of the comments were like, here's the date, via Bridgie.
Yeah.
And it says that because the source URL didn't match the URL on the page. So I actually point that out in the comment so that someone looking at it can see, oh yeah, this didn't actually come from Twitter, it came from this service. And that way, like, and I don't have anything hard-coded about bridging in that. It's just like, if those two don't match, it shows it.
Yeah.
So if you tried to make a post and say, hey, Marty said this thing, here's Marty's URL where he said it.
Can I spam you with a bunch of web mentions? What is the protection there?
So the anti-spam is SEPC verify we didn't talk about.
Right.
But that's basically your server checks to make sure the URL exists and that it does link to your post. So you can't completely spam, like you can't send fake web mentions, but you can generate junk web mentions
Yeah.
that are legitimate, that are undesirable.
Yeah.
But they have to actually exist at least. And it's not foolproof. Like it's still possible to get junk web mentions, but at least it's not. At least the spammer has to do something,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
create something.
Right.
All right. We're 5 minutes over, but Adam is still scribbling.
And that's like you said that's where it's like via bridging.
Yeah. All right, Adam, I need you to step away from the whiteboard. We got to do this. Yeah, we're over time, everybody. Please get ready for the next session. Sorry, I had.
Thank you.
Duties, and we're still drawing pictures.
I'm just turning into web drama, but I got it. There's a lot of steps still you got to do to get it. I was like, oh my God. But Bridgie said, I was like, oh, maybe, you mentioned one of them. And I'm like, Bridgie seems like it's like probably the easiest one for me, probably, just because I'm trying to get comfortable with it. And then the other one, yeah. But yeah. Yeah. So thank you. I was just curious. I was like, what happens with all this data? Like, how would it get
Right,
back?
right.
But then that's the fourth one.
Yep.
Yeah. We're stuck.
There's a lot to it.
Yes.
Hopefully
Once you get it
it's
down,
not
though, like once you do
more.
it once, though, it gets easier probably over time. Yeah.
Well, this is good because like
Hopefully this is helpful. It's a helpful exercise.
I'm not
Yeah,
sure
it's
anything
like,
is going to be
like,
inside.
I have code here share.
Okay.
I'll just put my laptop down.
Like I publish.
Everybody up and scratch
So
your
that
legs,
publishes like
and then
specific
take it
pages.
away. No, it's actually, yes, everyone stand up together. Take a breath out, let it out. Take a deep breath, just do kind of warm.
Have you managed to make this
a
your
lot.
page?
Oh, yeah.
No, I had.
WordPress with IndieWeb plugin. I think
I'm not-
that would just work.
No, I don't like
I'm
WordPress.
doing
Though. That's
this
why I was like, I want to
as
do like the
my-
coding myself. I was like,
2:05. So that's all
Yeah,
right.
this is most of what I
So you don't have only if you really want like likes to show up.
3:05. 5 minutes. Did you get a photo?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
I was posting them in the.
This is the perfect place for now.
Make it up. Or
Sure.
Sorry, I know you're.
Where do things like GNU status and Mastodon fit into this?
They use different protocol.
They use different protocols, some of the same ones.
And Tent is
Tent
another
is totally
protocol.
something. Tent is a completely own separate protocol.
And these were all other things where people were like, not like that, like this. Diaspora.
Diaspora was another one. The classic problem that happens, pattern enough to document it in a lot of examples over many years. Monoculture, which is someone comes along and says, I know the best way to make a better social network. It is like this.
It would work like this.
And they write an app.
They're
and
still
it may
discussing
be good.
death over there.
It may work fine,
Probably.
but
We're still discussing protocol death over here.
Their method of demonstrating success is that they get everybody else to run the same.
Yeah.
And so there is a network of tent servers that all work well together, and they're distributed, but they're all running the tent software.
Federation.
And same with Diaspora. Mastodon is a really weird example because Mastodon originally was built on the exact same stack that was made like 10 years ago. OSTAS, GNU Social. OSTAS is the stack, GNU Social is the implementation.